Happy New Year to you all. It's hard to know what to think as we stand at the beginning of 2022. If there's one thing we've learned in the last 2 years, it's that predicting what might happen this year is pretty much impossible. As we've journeyed through these strangest of times together, the one thing we've become used to is the unpredictability of life. We have all experienced last-minute cancellations, postponements, and the call to say that someone we were due to meet has had the dreaded 2 lines on their lateral flow test. Our new normal has become uncertainty, and that's exhausting. Living without certainty is something we all find hard. We like structure and routine, with only occasional breaks from that. We fall quickly into habits and find it very difficult to change them once we've settled into them. Our New Year resolutions are almost always about better habits. I'll read more, take more exercise, eat better. Our daily routines are full of habits. We get up at the same time, then tackle the day in the same order as the day before. Our weekly routines, where we shop on a particular day and visit someone, go to a club or come to church, can become pretty hard to change. We find ourselves saying no to things that conflict with the thing we normally do, even if that thing is something we'd like to do. When our habits are replaced by new ones, it can be hard to go back. I kind of enjoy the different Sunday mornings when church is closed and I don't have to get up and go to work. I know that some of you are the same. Watching church online in your pyjamas and having a freshly brewed cup of coffee isn't all bad. But we also know that we miss physically being together. We're social beings and we need some kind of company. Perhaps we should all come to church in our PJs, or maybe just bring our coffee with us. Sometimes being forced into new ways of doing something is a really helpful thing. We, like many other churches, were forced to move properly online, and we've found that there are people out there from all kinds of places who have joined us. There are people who regularly tune in now from Canada, America and Ireland, and we're just so glad that you are able to join us. We've also been able to connect with people in our own community. It's easier to click and watch from your own house than it is to walk through the door of somewhere you've never been before. We often check out a place where we're going to visit. We look for recent reviews and recommendations. People do the same for church. So change isn't all bad. And change happens all the time, and often for the better, but we don't often choose it. I was listening to Seth Godin talk about an exercise he gives people to do. It's just a postcard with problem at the top on one side and solution on the other. He asks people to write down the one problem they would really like to solve, something in their life or business or whatever. And then they pass the card to the next person to them, who writes down the solution to that problem. And after years of watching people respond to the solutions offered, he's realised 2 things. The first is that we almost always know the solutions to our own problems. And second, people mostly don't want their problem solved, either because they've become comfortable in their problem or because the solution's too scary. Solving the problem involves too much change or too many unknowns. But why am I telling you this? Well, if Christmas is about one thing, then surely it's about change. John sums it up brilliantly. And the Word became flesh and lived among us. There are some brilliant versions of that verse 14. God slipped into skin and moved into the neighbourhood is how the Message puts it. Others say something like, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. One of the versions I really like is God took on flesh and tabernacled among us. The tabernacle was the tent that Moses built in the wilderness where God would come and meet the people. It was placed at the centre of the camp, and the tabernacle went wherever the people went, meaning that God was quite literally always at the heart of their community. John is telling us that the Word, Jesus, was there in the beginning with God, and that through the Word all things were created. The Word, Jesus, is at the heart of everything that ever was, all that is, and everything that will be. Nothing has come into being without the Word. The poem at the start of the Bible in the book of Genesis tells us that God spoke, said the Word, and that things he spoke came into being. Let there be light, and there was light. God has always been at the heart of everything, but sometimes we forget. Sometimes we overlook that, sometimes we take it for granted. Even when God, who created everything, turns up in the flesh, John tells us he was in the world, and the world came into being through him, and yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. As I listened to a conversation about this famous passage the other day, I was struck by something I knew but had kind of forgotten. Jesus, the person, was temporary. The earthly flesh and blood existence of the Word as Jesus lasted for around 33 years, and yet John tells us that the Word was there in the beginning. At Christmas, we're confronted with an idea of God with us, incarnation in the flesh. It seems easy for us to imagine angels and a young girl and a baby in a manger. We seem to be completely okay with choirs of angels singing to shepherds and wise men being led by a star, much easier perhaps than what it means that God is with us in the flesh. I think that the whole point of Jesus, God in the flesh, is because God is just too hard an idea to get our heads around. We like something solid, something we can relate to. That's who Jesus is. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known. So we should rightly pay lots of attention to Jesus. That's our best way to know God. But just as God with us didn't start at the birth of Jesus, God with us didn't end with the resurrection and ascension of Jesus. Jesus leaves us the gift of the Holy Spirit. In John's Gospel, that gift is given by Jesus breathing on his followers, a sign that the Spirit is as close and as vital as our every breath. We talk about the Holy Spirit in those terms when we speak of inspiration, breathing in. That gift, that inspiration, the breath of God is for all of us and is with us at every moment. I wonder, as we step with some trepidation over the threshold of 2022, will we be aware of God with us? As we name our problems, will we realise that the solutions are to be found in what we already know? That God is continually recreating the world around us, that Jesus is our example, our blueprint, our cornerstone, and that the Holy Spirit guides and guards and inspires us in every moment.